Actually, you have it wrong about what it is I believe. Let's start there.
Tell us what it is.
Okay. My mom and dad were very much in love with each other, and they wanted to get married. And my father's parents said, absolutely not. You can't marry her because she's part Cherokee and she's part Delaware. And after fighting it as long as they could, my parents went off. They eloped. It was an issue in our family the whole time I grew up about these two families. It was an issue still raised at my mother's funeral. So what I know about my parents is I know that in that little town they grew up in, that my father's parents knew enough about my mother and her family.
So you have no doubt?
To say I have no doubt.
Well, let's assume then that that's the fact, that you're 1/32nd.
No, that doesn't tell you. Don't do that.
Well, why shouldn't I do that? But that is the fact,
no,
is it not?
No, it is not.
Why not?
It's not about the number. There are lots of people who are not enrolled in tribes.
Forget the number. You have acknowledged that in that National Law Directory you listed yourself as a minority. If your family had an African-American, like you have that grandparent or great-great-grandparent was a Cherokee, would you call yourself a black and expect African-Americans to accept that?
You mean if
that
my
same,
father's... Well, let me think about this.
If that same ancestor was black and not a Cherokee.
It's not that ancestor. It's if my father's parents had said, you can't marry her because she's black, and that had been part of our family growing up, that we had two different families.
You would be comfortable saying you're black?
It would be part of identification.
Scott Brown has said that, Scott Brown, and I put words in his mouth, I don't think I am, he suggests you may have received unfair advantage at Harvard. Well, let me just finish if I can. You've denied it. Every single person involved in the hiring process, whom I've heard, has denied it as well. Why don't you go the extra step that he's asked and essentially shut up all the critics, release the personnel records, but no, I'm serious, which would essentially, I assume, if you're accurate and right about them, would end the discussion point blank there, would it not?
No, the discussions ended when the people who hired me explained what happened. And let's remember who it is. It's Charles Freed, Solicitor General of the United States under Ronald Reagan, appointed by William Weld to the Supreme Judicial Court, and somebody who said in print long ago that he voted for Scott Brown. He's the one who did the hiring. That's not what the personnel records are about. The hiring is what Charles Freed led and the faculty voted. And Charles Freed has put it out there about as strongly as could humanly possible.
But would you not agree that Scott Brown and your critics would be in a really tough spot if you released the personnel records and they showed nothing about Native American heritage?
Personnel records don't show hiring. That's the point. The question is about hiring, and the question about hiring has been answered, unless you think that Charles Freed is not telling the truth.
Speaking of Charles Freed, you do think, even though you've said repeatedly you have nothing to apologize for, I assume you agree that Harvard has something to apologize for at least to me. What they decided to do was use you to quell the concerns about professors at law school. I mean, that is a fair and accurate statement, is it not, Elizabeth Warren?
I have not hidden who I am, and I'm not going to change it.
Okay.